Welcome back, everybody, to Ghost in the Cloud, your anime podcast. My name is John. With me is my co-host, Bridget.
Yay!
Back again this week to do another anime, and that anime is Yona of the Dawn. Bridget found this one a couple weeks back, maybe a few months ago now. Really surprised by it, and I'm looking forward to speaking about it today.
It was a nice change of pace of what we've been watching lately.
That is for sure. Our word of the week is, in fact, dawn.
I wanted to see how you would pronounce it.
I would pronounce it yoke.
Yoake.
Yoake?
Yoake. Yeah, because it's
Yoake.
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 It's Yoake.
No, don't do that. Yoake.
All
So
right.
dawn.
That means dawn. Anyway, on to our anime of the week. Yona of the Dawn is a Japanese manga series by Mizuho Kusanagi. I like how that last name sounds. It's
Kusanagi?
Really, yeah, it sounds really cool. The anime television series adaptation by Pero aired between October 7, 2014 and March 24th, 2015 with a total of 24 episodes and 3 OVAs. Yona, the sole princess to the kingdom of Koaka? Sure.
Koka.
She's a carefree girl who's been sheltered her entire life by her father, King Il.
It's Koka.
Koka. On the night of her 16th birthday, she sets out to tell her father about the love she has for her lifelong friend, Suwon. As she enters his chambers, she stumbles upon Suwon having just murdered her father. Hack, Yona's other lifelong friend and bodyguard, intervenes and saves Yona from the same fate. During their escape, and with the help and sacrifice of their friends, Yona and Hack learn of the 4 dragon warriors, and they set out to find them to restore peace to their kingdom.
I feel like that synopsis is a major spoiler, but you know,
Well, how's
we
it a
always
major
spoil
spoiler?
the crap out of everything.
I don't know if that's a major spoiler. It happens like in the first 2 episodes.
Yeah, I know, but it's still like it is a big plot twist.
I don't think so.
It is the biggest plot twist.
I disagree.
Okay.
So, as we typically like to start off, what drew us to this anime?
Alright, so I feel like all the new shows coming out, it's all shonen. After a while, they all start to blur together. I mean, some of the greatest shows are shonen, and I can't knock them. Like, they're action-packed, and I mean, the Fairy Tail and Naruto, and now Black Clover. I don't even want to get into that.
Don't get me started.
And, but I feel like, what about Shojo? Nobody talks about Shojo, and I feel like maybe people are a little presumptuous about what to expect in a shoujo. Because they are aimed towards young women, people stereotype them as just sappy romances, and they don't give them a chance. I decided...
in their defense, I think the majority of them are.
Probably.
But there are gems, which I am a big fan of this one.
There's probably more to shoujo than the stereotype that it seems to be. So I decided I'm going to go out there, and I looked into the top-rated shoujos and what they're about, and I wanted to know more about them, because they're really never in the top watched or the latest news for anime. It's just never mentioned. So the definition for it, an anime marketed towards girls, as we know, as opposed to shonen for the boys, but people often assume that shoujo is romance. And even though it's usually the case, it's not always, or it's just maybe not dominant in the show. It has just a greater story, like the one that we're going to talk about today. But the difference between the two is that the shonen, the characters, they exist to further the plot. Like, it's always about furthering the story and adventure. In shoujo, the plot merely exists to further character development. And I thought that was really interesting. That was actually in the definition in an Urban Dictionary. And I was like, wow, you know what? That actually sums it up quite nicely. It's more about the individual character development, who they are as people and how they grow, as opposed to shonen. It's about that journey. The characters are furthering the story.
In a shoujo, the world exists regardless of the main character.
Yeah.
Where in shonen, it almost exists because of the main character.
Yeah.
We wouldn't be getting the story for a shonen if we didn't have that character to move it along.
Yeah.
Where in shoujo, things are happening all the time, constantly surrounding these characters that may not necessarily interact with them, or may interact with them at a later time, and they all impose upon that character, changing that character throughout.
I feel like it's more accurate of like the real world. Like, everybody's lives is just a snapshot of the bigger picture. I really enjoyed this show, and it definitely ties in with the definition where the main character, Yona, the entire show is really about her character development, and she's just a small pawn in a great battle and a great change in her country, and she really doesn't have a big impact on it at all, at least in what's available now in the show.
Yeah,
but it's about how much she's grown as a character.
Yeah, and she starts off as this sort of whiny, privileged princess,
definitely privileged.
unaware of what goes on in the kingdom around her. That all comes crumbling down. Like, her world is literally shattered.
Her biggest problem before was that that her hair would not sit straight.
And she didn't like the color.
She did not like her wavy red hair. She transformed into a warrior and a heroine. She became a role model, and I feel like that's maybe why this is a shoujo.
I don't think her her transformation is quite complete.
No, I feel like this first season, is almost an introduction to what's going to be the real big plot of the show.
Yeah,
this building the characters.
This kind of show, compared to like a lot of others that I've watched, this is a show where I can see it going for like multiple seasons.
Mm-hmm.
Like, this is a show, if it was live action on an American network, I would watch multiple seasons of it, because throughout season 1, you get all of your characters, you get the growth, but you haven't gotten that main plot that they started in like the very first episode. So you can go throughout. I think there's ways to make this last for like 3 or 4 seasons easy.
Yeah, like how really this one season that's available, it was just about bringing together the main characters, slowly learning a lot about each character's background and just seeing them all bond together. Really, I do like the pace that it's at. It sounds like it's slow, but it has the action. It has the vibe of Rurouni Kenshin. It takes place in like feudal Japan, but in another world.
It's actually
the garb and swordsmanship of Rurouni Kenshin.
Apparently, it takes from Chinese, Japanese, and Korean cultures.
Yeah, it did have like a little bit of a like Chinese architecture going on in there, and yeah, I can definitely see like a mixture. I really liked the action in the show. When we first started out, it focused on just this privileged princess and her love interest. So I was like, okay, here we go. The stereotype is true about shoujo, and then it changed very quickly, and I was like, okay, this is awesome. I'm really enjoying the show, and people need to give shoujo another chance.
Yeah, for me, this kind of reminded me of my early days in anime when I was watching Inuyasha for the first time. It has that mystical feel to it, and it has a lot of cool, like Bridget said, it has a lot of great action, but it has a lot of emotional moments that are completely understandable, completely feasible, and you could totally see them happening in real life, despite the fact that it's within a mystical world.
Right. Yeah, no, they're realistic scenarios, like overthrowing a king because the king might not be strong enough to lead the country. The princess like on the run and having to learn how to survive. Like, these are not supernatural scenarios. It's just a different time. I really like the other main characters. Like Hack, I think, is probably my favorite character. Like, he's definitely the most loyal. I think the most practical in the show. Like, the other characters, like, come from weird backgrounds. They're not really aware of everything going on out there, and whereas Hack, he started in a more humble beginning, but he rose up through just his hard efforts, became the bodyguard for the princess before everything went down.
I don't know if we can call it a humble beginning. He is the future king of like the Wind tribe.
Yeah, but he was
Not
adopted.
King,
he was an adopted orphan first.
That's true. He was an orphan.
And he was chosen as the next leader because he worked so hard and he became as strong as he did.
Yeah, he's my favorite character for sure. He's
badass.
He is fiercely loyal, and he's very intelligent. They try to, I think, paint him as nonchalant, just go with the flow guy, but he always seems to have a plan. Mm-hmm. Even if it's not necessarily a good one, but he always seems to be ready, able to do and execute something if he needs to.
Yeah, and if it weren't for him, the princess probably would have died.
Oh yeah. He has a nickname, the Thunder Beast. Because he's this exceptional fighter, and he has this awesome long staff with a sword attached to the end.
What is that? Is it like a scapier?
No, I don't think so.
My knowledge of feudal Japan weapons are a little rusty, so I'm sorry if I don't remember the name of it, but I feel like it was the weapon for Lance class in a lot of MMORPGs that I've played. It's just the pole with the knife at the end. But the way he will swing it down, it's with such speed and force and strength that it has like the crack of thunder.
Yeah.
So he becomes the thunder.
My Sifu, I practice Kung Fu, I should say. I wish I practiced Kung Fu because I haven't been there in a long time. These are like hanging on our walls in the...
Oh, really?
In the training hall, and I can just hear my Sifu saying, you know what that's called.
Yeah, like, how dare you?
I can't think of it right now. All these characters, there are 7 main characters, I guess you could say, and they're all fiercely different, and they're very fun. I think I would probably like Hack the most, but that's because he is essentially mortal compared to some of the other characters that come to join. On her journey, we probably should explain that a little bit, right? There's this fable in this world where a mystical dragon, once decided that he wanted to live among the humans, and he became a human. through his abilities.
A man with red hair.
A man with red hair. And he was once a king of the land. His dragon brethren didn't quite understand this. They were dragons. They were just like, why would you want to be with these humans? And he's just like, I want to understand them. They have value. I want to know what it is about them. So the dragons created 4 warriors to protect this now human version of this dragon.
And they have the blood of the dragons in them.
And they have the blood of the dragons in them. And this is a legend in the world that up until the 4 or 5 episodes in, it's believed that it is in fact just a legend.
Yeah, it's a storybook. It's a tale that you tell to your children.
And you find out it's true throughout the journey that Yona goes on. She meets the white dragon, Kija, the blue dragon, Sheena, I think that's how
it's Sheena, yeah.
The green dragon, Jeha, and the yellow dragon, Zeno. Now, Zeno's still kind of a wild card. We don't know much about him yet. But all of these dragons have a really interesting background, and they're vastly different from one another. They all live in different villages throughout the kingdom. Kija is this white dragon. You know, he's ultimately human, but he has the blood of the dragon in him, and he has this really cool dragon claw that pretty much grants him the strength of 10 men or so, like 100 men.
It's literally like the limb of a dragon.
And he can use it to break down walls and carry crazy amounts of weight. And he's somewhat privileged. The village that he grew up in honors the white dragon. And
they've worshipped him like a god. They've
worshipped him like a god throughout his whole life. It's interesting, coming from the dragon's standpoint, it's generations upon generations that haven't been with this king. The blood passes down to the next generation, and so does the former red dragon.
You figure it's got to be at least 500 years for something that once happened just become a myth or fable.
Right.
Like it has like a lot of time has to remove it from them. And you kind of have to wonder, because Yona, being the daughter of the king, she has the red hair, and the first dragon, the red dragon, they never mention whether he got married or had children or anything like that. You kind of wonder if Yona is a distant descendant of this king. And she, even when she meets each dragon, they have on some supernatural level kind of, it hits them. It dawns on them. Yeah, like an epiphany, like, wow, this is my master. They actually call her master, and this is the red dragon that I should be following. So, I mean, it kind of tells it for you, but they never really confirm, but she has the red hair. In fact, the white dragon, when he first saw the red hair, it's just like a slap in the face, like, oh my god, finally the master that I've been waiting for, that my ancestors have been waiting for, are here. So
some of the other stories, Jeha is the green dragon. He has this dragon leg where he can leap crazy miles and miles, and it's almost as if he flies.
The dragon pirate.
He comes, he's a pirate, and he grew up as a pirate. And it's interesting how they sort of take each of these and give them a totally different story. The blue dragon, who might be my favorite dragon, he is this quiet guy who grew up shunned by his village because they were afraid of his power.
Pretty much the opposite of the white dragon's claim.
Yeah, essentially they reverse.
He had to live
in
a cave by himself, literally in the mountain.
Yeah, in an attempt to protect his village as a child, he kills these soldiers. And because of that, the village becomes fearful that they'll be wiped out. So they move, and they now live in this mountain. And he just roams inside the cliffs. And it's really sad because you get his backstory. And he had one friend growing up who was the previous blue dragon, and he ultimately died. And it's sad. Although these are supernatural beings, they're people. They have the human turmoils that everyone else deals with.
On the plus side, his predecessor, Al, he names his pet squirrel after.
Yeah. Then we have the yellow dragon, who we don't really know a whole lot about. He kind of just shows up towards the end of the show.
He literally just shows up at their camp.
And he's not even really aware of what his powers are yet. It's almost as if it seems like they haven't manifested. We don't really know how the powers work.
I feel like he knows more than he's letting on, because he has these moments of wisdom, and like his face looks serious, and he really does contribute. Something that Yona pointed out, like you feel warm like the sun. Your soul is warming and enlightening for us. And maybe that's his power, is not physical at all. Maybe it's his heart and soul that he inherited from the dragon, like something like a purity. So, but you know what? Or maybe it just, we haven't really seen it yet, whatever it is that he has that he inherited. But he's definitely the dragon. But he didn't really have that epiphany like the other ones did. Like it didn't hit him like, ooh, this is my master. He was the exception.
He's this like doughy-eyed wanderer.
Yeah, he looks like a bum. Like his hair never been brushed, and he was starving. And he's like, ooh, you're cooking food. Just dove right in without even introducing himself.
And then we have some of the human characters. Yoon, who is this orphan that they meet along the way. He's essentially this boy genius. He is capable beyond measure. He brings so much to the team. He can memorize maps. He knows landscapes. He knows how to heal people through like just basic herbs and stuff. And it's very fortunate that they come upon him. And then you have the big bad, who is Suwon. He is this handsome, devilish kind of prince, and you get a little weird sort of backstory. They're related, maybe.
They're
best
cousins.
friends.
No, they are.
Yona and
they
him.
are cousins, and I know that in certain cultures, cousins are fair game. But I mean, it's weird. It's weird. So they grew up. Pak, Suwon, and Yona, the three of them, childhood friends. There's a lot of flashbacks about that, and you really see that they had like a real deep bond and a friendship, which why, you know, this whole scenario has just made it that much harder. She's always been in love with Suwon. The beginning episodes was about, oh, she's in love with him and she wants the king to approve of her love, and the king, maybe he really knew that something else was going on, but he said no, absolutely not. You can, like, I'll give you anything but that. And he seemed very serious, like it was like foreboding. The king had some skeletons. Yeah. He had some skeletons in the closet. And the thing is, Suwon is painted as the bad guy. Right off the bat, a few episodes in, he kills King Il. He has this look on his face as if all emotion is drained from his eyes, and he has nothing but scorn for the king. And you find out that the reason behind that is because the king is ultimately the reason why his Suwon's father is dead and never inherited the actual power. Although he never says how he got this information, whether he saw it himself or who gave it to him, and whether it's actually true. Like, for all we know, we'll find out down the line that their brother was dying and he asked his brother to kill him, or the brother betrayed him and the king had to kill him. We really don't know what happened. We just know that Suwon thinks he knows for sure that his father was killed by the king, the brother. So I feel like it's not going to be as cut and dry as it sounds.
So there are these tribes throughout the land, and there are the Wind tribe, which Hak is from, the Fire tribe, I think there's an Earth tribe and a Water tribe.
Okay, we're having
it's a very
an airbender moment right now.
And Suwon stages this coup to take over the kingdom. And you get moments where he is visiting these places throughout the kingdom, but he's not a bad guy. He wants to make the kingdom better, or at least that's how they portray it. Like, he genuinely wants to build up the kingdom.
He did kill
glory.
The king out of revenge, but it wasn't just that. He said that this king is two kinds, like to the point where he is yielding and giving up land to neighboring larger kingdoms and making this nation look weak, open for invasion. And this king is ignoring a lot of poverty and disease that are going through these smaller abandoned tribes, which Yona does see firsthand for herself in her journeys. So we got to see, like, in the first few episodes, that this king is a very good person and not a weak person either. You know, a lot of people associate kindness with weakness. He also he wasn't the best king either. Maybe he, who knows why, but he felt he was doing what was right for his kingdom by giving in to these neighboring nations. Suwon believed that by killing the king and taking up the throne, he could protect and help bring back like the former glory of the nation and like help strengthen them. Right away, he's traveling around to each tribe and he's giving them that little push, like to unite. He goes to the Earth tribe and he helps kind of boost up their leader there, who kind of just schlumps around and gave up on himself. He actually is a better king.
It's interesting to sort of play both sides of the deck.
You do hate him less as you go throughout the show. You're like, wow, like he actually isn't a terrible person. Like, what we saw him do was awful, but he's actually not bad.
There's a moment towards the end of the show too that after believing Yona was killed, Yona and Suwon run into each other.
Yeah.
And he actually protects her. Even though she attempts to go for his sword to try and strike him down at that moment, he protects her from being seen by the guards that were with him so that they don't take her or imprison her or kill her right there. And it's interesting. You don't know where this guy's coming from. I kind of don't want to say he's the bad guy.
He's not, though. There really is no one bad guy in this show. Like, everybody has their own agenda. And everybody wants what's best for the country.
In a way, you could say King Il could be portrayed as a bad guy, because here he is just neglecting people, the entire kingdom, and Yona is also kind of ignorant to it. It's not, I mean, maybe that's not entirely her fault, but it's really interesting. I do want to say, before we get too off track, that Shinha, the blue dragon, his ability comes from his eyes. He has the dragon's eyes.
Oh,
and
yeah.
he can see great distances. And
just by looking at people, he kills them.
Yeah, he has that
That's
ability.
brutal.
It's pretty badass. All of these characters have great designs.
I feel
love
like the blue
cosplaying
dragon, his
these would be so much fun.
costume reminds me of Princess Mononoke.
Okay, I can see that.
The mask with the white hair.
Yeah.
And yeah, that definitely. But yeah, I really like the character design. I really like the
garb. We should
garb.
totally cosplay as Yona and Yaha. We could totally do that.
Yeah, no, that would be really easy to do. The bow and arrow, which by the way, I really want to learn. I just love the feudal age garb. It's just so much fun to wear. So we go to a lot of Renaissance fairs in the summer, so you know, even outside of the anime realm, we're always like getting into that stuff. Oh, and another thing, the fire tribe is bad.
Yeah,
little
real
Airbender
original Yona of the Dawn.
The fire tribe is the most corrupt. Like the leader, he's always seems like he's trying to just. You know.
I don't know if they're corrupt necessarily, but they use force to get their way.
Yeah.
They're not so
it's very
diplomatic
Slytherin.
as the other
they're
ones.
Slytherin, basically. You know, so there's some cliches in this show. It's still overall like a really good, solid show. And I do see a lot of other shows
This
like
is
concept
one of
meshed
my,
together.
This one was a surprise to me. I was shocked how much I liked this show. And I really hope that they do a second season because they leave off so much left unanswered. I mean, now it's been 2.5 years since the show.
Yeah, but then there's like Blue Exorcist. It took 6 years.
That's true.
Literally 6 years for the next season to come out. And it's, you know, these shows in Japan, it's not like in the States where there is a very set schedule. It comes out year after year, and then there's a 6-month break. And they're where in Japan, these animators, these studios, they're working all these different projects, and it's really whatever they set their own agenda, and whatever they're working on it, that's when it comes out. So there's, you really don't know when they're gonna focus on this show again, or if they're gonna start another show. You really never know. But I mean, I'm happy they came out with the rest of Blue Exorcist, and I hope they come out with more of that.
I think Yona still has a whole lot to learn.
Yona just got started.
To grow. Like she was always taught to never pick up a weapon, and now here she is fighting for her life like every day.
And it was hard
really
for her. Like, you know, every time she picked up that bow, she thought of her father's word that he does not believe in weapons, and he never wants his daughter to hold one. And there she was, for survival and to protect the people that she cares about. She wanted to learn the bow and arrow, and she got pretty good at it.
It's a very idealistic way to live. The idea of no weapons. It is somewhat of a fairy tale. Very much like this show is.
So many people said that, like about the late king, that, you know, he was a fool to think that you can just tell people don't use weapons and that would just erase your problems. Even Hack said that as the bodyguard to the princess. He said, well, wish me luck trying to protect your daughter without a weapon. So he did have his staff with him at the time. But
the adventures they go on to, at no point do they really seem to drag. The show moves really well.
It had a nice
It's very
pace.
well paced. It's really beautifully animated too. I like the concept of the characters. Not one character seems similar to the others. They all have very distinct personalities, and that's hard the more characters you add.
Music too.
And
I
they
love
all
that
try to
old
give
music.
them. They all try to,
Like the Chinese violin, as they call it.
Oh, and let's talk about this intro for a second. This intro, what is happening? Because it's amazing. It has this like pan of like this eagle flying, and it shows the map. It's almost to a degree
Game of Thrones
intro.
absolutely. Yeah.
And that is about the best part of that show. So don't get me started on there.
Okay, you're gonna drop half our listeners if you tell them you don't like Game of Thrones.
I don't like Game of Thrones. It's ridiculous. It's bad. It
You're
doesn't
ridiculous.
make sense. No, it's ridiculous. It's not a good show.
Your
anyway,
face is ridiculous.
Wow.
Okay, Game of Thrones is amazing, but that aside, the intro of the show, it did have that same vibe where it was showing a little bit of the story of the show in the visuals of the intro, and then it had this just not loud, but just very just building, energizing song. It kind of creates suspense and energy, even though it's, I don't know, it was just a really well done piece. I really liked the music, and I really liked the Chinese violin, that the small instrument that they have. I think it only has like 2 or 3 strings. I actually play the regular violin, so I'm very interested in picking it up, and I just love the sound of it, and I think it's really relaxing, and it just gives it the feeling that you're in another time. So I really liked how they tied in with old culture in our world with this mystical world.
What I would like to do, as we are coming up on our 40th episode, which is kind of crazy to think about. when we hit our year mark, I think I want to go back, do an episode about what we've watched, and maybe kind of rank the top 10.
Yeah, we should come up with our favorites.
Because
I mean, I already know.
This one definitely has an opportunity to make that top 10 for me. It reminds me so much of animes I watched as a kid, like Rurouni Kenshin and Inuyasha. Like,
it's not my top 10.
I love those.
It's really good, but there's so many masterpieces out there that are going to make the top 10.
But if you are interested in checking this out, go to Crunchyroll. That's where we watched it. Mm-hmm. It may also be on Funimation, but Crunchyroll definitely has it.
Yeah, I didn't look it on Funimation. I looked out to see what people rated as the top shoujos out there. I wanted to see some for myself. They haven't been very mainstream, so I sought them out myself.
It's also, granted this is an action-packed shoujo, but shoujos in general are a nice change of pace compared to a lot of the other shows out there, like Black Clover, like My Hero Academia. This is an interesting take on the shoujo. I hope there are more of these because I like the world building. The world building's really fun.
You feel more connected, I think, seeing an emotional growth of the characters instead of just seeing a plot move forward like in the shonen. I honestly get more emotionally invested in the shoujo than the shonen. So that's my personal take on it. Although, like, I love you get really excited when you watch shonen. It's fun. I mean, it's a great, fun-paced genre rather, but the shoujo I feel like is more emotional and it's more, I guess, personal. You really learn more on a deeper level the characters, and when you see them grow, you connect to them more and you get more attached. So that's just me. I'm definitely, after watching this one, I want to look into more shoujo in the future and see if they all compare to this one.
Yeah, guys, if you have a shoujo you would want to recommend to us, definitely reach out.
You can email us at gitcanime@gmail.com. Our episodes are always up on SoundCloud, iTunes, and YouTube. And we have our social media,
and
Facebook,
Google Play.
And the Twitter. We have Instagram. But if you want to find it all on one website, you can just go to gitcanime.com. It has a list of all of our latest tweets and Instagram posts and everything under one nice, neat page. So that's always fun. I really like how it came out. Of course, there's our Patreon. If you want to help support our website, besides just giving us a nice rating, you can also go to patreon.com and you can be a supporter and help us grow as a podcast. There are some really awesome perks on there, so you should really go and check them out.
We understand that you're busy. Life is crazy sometimes, but if you have 5 minutes, rate, review, subscribe to us on your podcast listening platform of choice. We'd really appreciate it.
And I recommend that if you don't have an account, you should make a free account on SoundCloud, because that's where you can see I always post the soundtrack to the show each week through SoundCloud, and I'll post the link to it on social media, but I feel like the music is a big part of the shows. You should go to SoundCloud and check out the soundtracks that I post each week.
True that. All right. Well, thanks for listening, guys.
True dat.
Talk to you next week.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
Yeah.